Good morning, everybody. Guten Morgen, bonjour, bon dia, buongiorno, grand rising. Get out of bed. Coach K coming to you. Oh, I'm so excited about today. I'm so excited to bring this special person on. We are day 4. Here she comes. Here she comes. She's sliding in. So we're coming from Austria to Australia. Every story is different. Every story is wild. Every story is fun. Every story has been for a decade. And she's a trauma coach to high speaker, an explorer, an adventurer.
So let me tell you my story. So going back, what would it be now? About 2 years ago now, I was in a position in my life. I was living in South Australia. That's where you get South Australia from. I was living in South Australia. That's my hometown. And I was living with my beautiful mum. I'm very blessed that me and my mum have a very close relationship. But I was in a position where my business wasn't making a whole bunch of money. I was really burning out, trying to sort of push this message on my heart. And I was just sort of finding myself falling more and more into that space of feeling like I was living Groundhog Day. And I don't know about you, but Groundhog Day is my greatest fear. The last thing I want is to live a life that, is basically the same day repeated over and over again. So, I was really getting to a point where my love for life was disappearing. And I knew that Adelaide wasn't home anymore. I knew that, my energy and my influence was better suited elsewhere, but I didn't know where that was yet. And so having next to no money to my name and no real awareness of where my income was going to come in because my business wasn't doing that well, I made the decision to leave home and basically figure it out. It had been a good year or two of basically, trying to push to get the income to come in so that I could go and live elsewhere. And when that didn't shift, I realized that the reason why I couldn't do what I wanted to do was actually the reason why I had to do what I wanted to do, because I knew that when I shifted where I was operating from energetically, that would shift how the money was or wasn't coming in.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So with that, basically, truth be told, it started with a rather bitter argument with my mum. And that had me, looking back, it was an absolute blessing. I packed my bags, and I went and jumped in my car and with nowhere to go, rang a friend. And I stayed in Adelaide for about 8 weeks. Then I decided that it was time for me to get out of Adelaide. And I road tripped my way up through the centre of Australia up to the Northern Territory because I had a goal that I wanted to go and see Uluru. So for those of you who are overseas, what's that? Uluru.
Tell me what that is.
Have you heard of Uluru?
No.
So Uluru they call it the heart of Australia. So it's basically this giant rock right in the middle of Australia, out in the outback, like middle of the desert. It's absolutely incredible. It's got a lot of spiritual beliefs and myths and stories surrounding it from the Aboriginal people. And it was my dream to go and see it. So I made my way up there and slept in the back seat of my car and went and camped on the side of the road alongside Uluru, and met incredible people along the way.
Of course, yeah.
And spent, what would it be, a week there, and then managed to scrounge together just enough money to get a bus back to Adelaide. And then I spent the next 2 months making my way up the east coast of Australia. And this meant a lot of time sleeping in my car, a lot of time just connecting with strangers and having the courage to put my pride aside and ask them for help. And, you know, couch hopping. Yeah, and knowing that when I got to Queensland, you know, I knew where I wanted to end up, but I didn't know anyone there. I didn't have a place to go when I got there. So every single day was a bit of a process of just figuring it out as I went.
Briana, did you, as you're telling this story, and you could hear you didn't really have anything, but, but were you feeling lack as you were doing this adventure? Were you feeling like
No.
What was it actually like an adventure for you? Was it actually like, well, I don't know, but like this is in a little way exciting?
Yeah, totally. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was terrified. You know, there are a lot of nights where I was sleeping in my car, and you know, I had a few like hairy moments where I genuinely feared for my safety.
Okay.
And yeah, but I mean, you know, I'm such a believer. Like I said, the reason why we can't is the reason why we must. And so for me, this journey it felt like almost like a rites of passage. You know, that transition from being a kid, really, living with mum and working a business that wasn't really making enough money to get by, to this journey to become an adult and to, you know, becoming independent and standing on my own 2 feet. And so, you know, that journey, it wasn't about, as you said, I really had nothing. I had my car and I had whatever I could pack into my car in terms of my clothes and whatnot. But I had about 62 Australian dollars to my name. And for me, it became a process of, because here's the thing, right? I'm such a believer that it's never about money. You know, if we ever have a lack of money, it's actually, money's not the thing. I think we always make money the thing that's going to make it easier, but we're actually the thing, right? And so that journey for me became a process of looking at the parts of myself that, you know, the traits, the characteristics, the resources that I hadn't yet allowed myself to connect with. I had to draw on them to be able to create the money, to create the food, to create the resources that were going to get me to my end goal, which was a place, a home in the Gold Coast.
And as you're describing, it's obviously an adventure along the way. Like,
Yes.
you knew where you're going, but you didn't know how it was going to look.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that you just have to.
As I said, I'd spent a good maybe 18 months waiting, or, you know, trying to force creating the money so that I could go and live out this mapped out plan of getting to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And the more I kind of forced that, the less energy, the less vitality I had to actually action it, you know. And so I was trapped in this process of chasing my tail, and I can, you know, it was this story of once I have X, then I can do Y. You know, and so it was always a matter of here's why I can't do the thing yet. But instead, you know, I got to the point where I was like, I can't keep putting my life on hold. I can't keep waiting until I have this thing. Yeah. I need to actually become the person who draws in the money. And so for me, the process of drawing in the money was actually going and doing the thing that I was waiting for the money to go and do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to. It's such a beautiful experience. I managed to, on a tank of petrol, I managed to drive from Adelaide to, I think my dad filled my car up before I left, bless him. And that got me from Adelaide to Melbourne. So that's an 8-hour drive. And I managed, using social media, I managed to connect with a friend that I hadn't seen in years, and he gave me a couch to sleep on. And the UFC was in town, so Ultimate Fighting Championships, and I'm a massive MMA fan. So I made a couple of phone calls. It was a sold-out event. I made a couple of phone calls and managed to get myself the cheapest tickets in the house. They literally got an extra seat and put it at the back of the room for me so that I could go. And when I got there, they said there's a mistake. We can't put you here. So we're going to upgrade your tickets. So my tickets got upgraded from, I think, $72 tickets to $500 tickets. which landed me at the UFC after party, which was pretty incredible because I got to meet some huge names that I've been fangirling for years. And so I stayed in Melbourne for about a week, and then I road tripped up to, and this was all a process of kind of just connecting with people along the way. I think I teed up with a friend of mine, that when I got to Wollongong, which is a little bit further north, we would run an event together. So that managed to pay for the tickets sold from that managed to pay for my next tank of petrol to get there. And we ran this incredible event up there just near Sydney, which introduced me to a participant that came to our event lived in the Central Coast, which is about another 2 or 3 hours north of Sydney. And I got speaking to her after the event, and she said, if you're ever up this way, if you're ever up in the Central Coast, let me know. We would love to. You can stay at our place and we'll take you out wakeboarding. And I love wakeboarding. So I said, well, actually, I'm heading that way now. So that gave me a place to stay for about a week and a half. And I got to go out wakeboarding, and I met, again, the most incredible people. And I think it was at this point I jumped online and I saw a guy named Preston Smiles, he's the one responsible for introducing us. Him and his partner, Alexi Panos, were coming to Australia to run a event up in the Gold Coast. And funnily enough, the date that they were coming to the event, that they were coming to host the event, was the date that I'd marked in my calendar for when I wanted to get to the Gold Coast. And so I looked at the ticket price, and I had some money coming in from tax, and that just happened to be exactly the amount for the ticket. Just happened to be. So I invested that bit of money into buying that ticket. And the rest of the trip, I think this was about 4 days, was sleeping in my car and living off 2-minute noodles and going for hikes in between time, and, just going for beach swims and whatever else, because the east coast of Australia is incredible beaches. And then I got myself to the Gold Coast and went from, I was lucky enough that a friend of mine introduced me to, this was along the way, introduced me to the owner of the gym that she trains at, and he said, come in, have a shower, clean yourself up a bit. And the next day I went into this event that Preston and Alexi were hosting, and that introduced me to about 80 people most of them were based in the Gold Coast. So that introduced me to my network, and through that network I was able to kind of couch hop for about a month and start to make some money and start to, find clients and whatever else up in the Gold Coast. And then before I knew it, I had landed myself in a beautiful place here. I had no idea how I was going to pay rent. But, basically I made the decision. This was the thing. I made the decision. I moved into the place and I said, I'm going to find the money somehow. And before I knew it, I was earning more in a fortnight than I had previously earned in an entire year.
Wow.
And so this
from the start of this trip to what you're talking about, how much time has passed?
It was about 2.5 months.
Just 2.5 months?
Yeah.
Everything you're describing?
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was amazing because, as I said, it was 18 months of me trying to force my business to get flowing, trying to force the money to come in, and it just wasn't working. And then as soon as I just leapt and trusted that I would figure it out along the way, was when the money started flowing in. I started having all these incredible synchronistic things. I vividly remember there was a moment where I think I was down to my last $5. I hadn't eaten in about maybe a day, and my tank was on empty. So I'm sitting at a petrol station, and I'm surrounded by truckies, truck drivers, and I'm going, what do I do here? Do I ask one of them to shout me a tank of petrol? Do I ask one of them to shout me some food? What do I do? And so I spent my last $5 on getting a bag of hot chips, and And I was using the PowerPoint at this service station to charge my phone up because it had gone flat. And the moment my phone was charged, I was sitting there trying to figure out how am I going to get petrol in my in my tank. And then I got a phone call from an old friend who I had lent money to years earlier. And he rang me and he said, hey, I finally have that money, and send me your bank details. And so he transferred $200 into my bank account, and that paid for my tank of gas, and got me a little bit further along the trip. So it was always in the moments where it was, I really thought I was at the point where I was fucked and that the trip was coming to an end and that I was going to have to ring mum or dad and say, buy me pay for me to get back home to safety. It was always at that last moment when my trust was just starting to dip that the universe pulled through. So that was so incredibly profound for me, because it made me realize that when the vision is bigger than our circumstances, miracles happen.
Miracles in the moment. Are you thinking that in the moment, as where like you get this phone call? Are you thinking like, this is like wild, incredible? Or now you look back and you see all the dots, but in the moment you see everything coming together. But in the moment, are you like, well, like, thank you for this? How are you?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment I was floored. It was so funny because I remember seeing my phone start ringing. And I mean, this was a friend that I hadn't spoken to in years. And it was so funny because in my mind I went, it's not a good time. I'm not going to answer this phone call. Like, I'm stressed. I need to figure out what my next steps are. I'm not going to answer this phone call. And then something in the back of my head was telling me, answer the call.
Wow.
And so I answered, and $200 straight to my bank account. And so I remember getting off that phone call and going, oh my God, oh my God, like someone's looking out for me. So absolutely, I was definitely very, very grateful for that miracle in that moment.
In just this short 2.5 months, there are so, I wouldn't say miracle because it is, but it's like an of course thing.
Yeah, totally.
And notice how you had trust, but also fear. You just have to keep moving forward, right? You allowing those outside forces, this taking you now. And yes, how did that help you now living your dream?
Well, I mean, I look at, I always knew the Gold Coast was home. I'd only been to the Gold Coast once, maybe 8 years earlier. But I remember when I came here on this holiday, I knew Gold Coast was home. And so something was pulling me here all along, and I had ignored it for so many years. But living here in the Gold Coast, this is my dream. This is what I had dreamed of all of those years, in Adelaide, like living by the beach and having a community of people who got me, right? Who had similar visions, who had similar values and ethics and belief systems. And so being here unlocked everything for me. It unlocked my financial wealth. It unlocked, the depth of connections that I found here. I have zero doubt in my mind that this is where my soul needed to be, and this may not be my forever home, but, I knew. I had ignored the call for many years. So, now as a result, my business just keeps on growing. The connections that I get to experience here just keep on growing. My quality of life just keeps on evolving. And I can honestly say, and this isn't to say that it's all rainbows and butterflies and puppies. There's plenty of really challenging moments, but I can genuinely say I fucking love my life and I'm living my dream. And to look at the contrast of like back then in Adelaide, in those final, that final year in Adelaide, I just felt I felt so depleted of my vitality, and that's nothing against Adelaide. I love it there, but it just wasn't aligned with my soul anymore. And, the contrast of that heaviness to now feeling like I'm living the dream is like, wow, why didn't I do this years earlier?
But it's also perfect as it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I get goosebumps because it's a real story of adventure, because I believe life is an adventure that we get to react to or respond to, right?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
your journey, to me, it's like to just experience all of that is like a massive leap. It's a lesson. Let's see, like, people get out there and do this.
Yeah. I would say to sum it up, it's again, the reason why you can't is the reason why you must. I think all too often we have this block, we have this reason why we can't, we have this excuse. And my coach calls them roller door conversations. You know, I could have so easily just gone, oh, I can't afford to move. I can't afford to move my life across the country. And that's a roller door conversation because the roller door comes down and that's done. Like, shop's closed, right? But in that moment, instead, I chose to go, well, how can I make this work? You know, and I work with women every single day who say, because this happened to me, I can't do X, Y, Z. Or because of this situation, I can't do X, Y, Z. Or because I have children, I can't do this. Or, you know, whatever the reason is. And those reasons are valid. And they're also the invitation to grow yourself to be bigger than the problem, to become greater than the circumstance. And so allow the vision to guide you into that next version of yourself. You know, I always say, let the vision be greater than the circumstances, because often the solution to the problem is actually in the problem itself. You've just got to be willing to, you know, create the antidote from the venom.
I love this. Nuggets. I gotta listen.
Absolutely. I often have people say to me, you know, clients or social media followers, you know, it's easy for you to say, Brie, because you're in this situation, as though, you know, I have something that they don't. And yeah, I mean, I think when you hear my backstory, it's, yes, I may have those things, but I had to grow into creating those things. And I had to go through so many challenges to be able to create the life that I now have. And so, yeah, as I said, it's about growing, allowing our challenges to grow us into the kind of person who experiences those challenges as being small.
Oh my God. Amazing. I look forward to your book.
Actually, as I was speaking this, I was like, I should write a book. This is a great story.
Yeah. Because you had me in the car with you.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, Bree, I so appreciate you diving in, sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, enjoy the day, everybody, and just live that adventure. Dive in. Okay, girl. Have a
See ya.
fantastic day.
You too. Bye.